and wheels. Okay.
Yes.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we're still hungover from CES, but we can still talk about the cool-ass PC gear we saw. Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 38, recorded on January 11th, 2018. I'm Gordon Mung, along with Brad Charkis.
Hello, Internet.
Who is still warm out there. And special guest, Melissa Ruffrio.
Hey.
And, of course, controlling the vertical and horizontal is Adam Patrick Murray.
Hey, Gordon, I went to CES 2018, and the only thing I got was this light-up fidget spinner.
He had to bring out the fidget spin.
From HyperX. Thank you, HyperX, for the light-up fidget spinner.
This
I've been
podcast
playing with
brought
it.
to you by
Everyone
HyperX.
send
Yeah,
Adam more
spinner.
fidget spinners.
More.
He doesn't have enough of them.
I know,
Yes.
and especially light-up ones. I did not have a light-up one before this. This is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I was actually at the Kingston HyperX booth, and, they were like, because, I think they were giving away, like, pretty nice, hey, media, 64 gig, over USB key. I was like, I need the fidget spinner. That's actually what I did. Like, I stole two of them.
Don't worry, the 64 gig USB stick has all of our press materials on it.
Yes.
Just reformat.
It would be cool if actually the fidget spinner was a USB key. I'm sure there
That
is.
would be
Ooh.
cool.
Oh, I'm sure people have done that.
Pretty good. Now, Adam is not usually, he tries to sidetrack us.
Well, actually, I'm not going to sidetrack, but I am going to say something that I realized. All the people who tuned in live on Facebook, YouTube, thank you guys for tuning in. But just so you know, you can listen to The Full Nerd on the go anytime you want. We deliver this as an audio podcast. So, go to iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or Pocket Casts.
And make sure you leave a review.
SoundCloud. Yeah, leave reviews. It's I actually listen to every single show after it comes out.
Really?
Yeah, on Pocket Casts.
Wow.
Yep, it's true.
That's pretty good. Sometimes I try to listen to it, but
Yeah, it's fun.
But you know what?
But you were here. Why would you listen to it again?
I know, because you want to listen to what did I slur this time and get wrong? Because you misspeak and then it's permanently on the record. It doesn't come back.
Sometimes
Can't take those missiles back.
It just sometimes brings me back to the listening to you on the No BS podcast.
Those are fun.
Like it's Gordon.
Those were the fun days. No rules. No rules.
No rules.
But I do want to get into cool ass stuff from CES.
Yes.
Melissa and I just came back. Adam as well.
Yes,
And
We just
we're
came
tired.
back from the Consumer Electronics Show.
It's not called the Consumer Electronics Show anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
It doesn't stand for that?
Really? No shit.
Are you? Hey.
Oh, sorry.
Hey.
Oh,
Do you want the lawyers to get after us?
sorry.
They make a big
You
deal
want
about
Disney
it.
down there now?
It's like, what does KFC actually mean? Does anyone know?
You're already handing out Star Wars. Cut it out, Adam Patrick Murray.
do you guys know where the first KFC is?
No.
What?
The first KFC.
But
no.
hopefully in its home state.
No, the first KFC was built in Salt Lake City,
What?
Utah. Yep, I've been
Really?
there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I used to go
My
there.
whole life is a lie now.
So it's not from.
I'm sure it is from there.
Everything is a lie.
And I bet they were building a bunch of them at the same time, but that's the
Branding.
first one that opened
Who
was in
would
Salt
buy
Lake City.
Utah Fried Chicken?
I know. Go to UFC. I mean,
UFC?
UFC. It'd be Utah Fried
Oh,
Chicken.
okay. I was like, that's a whole different thing.
UFC. I just can't. Oh, everything. I'm not surprised. I mean, just everything we hear is a lie,
Yeah,
basically.
it's true.
But you know what's not a lie?
What is not a lie?
Brand new Intel collaborating with AMD. See how it brings
Whoa.
back on
Who
topic
knew?
there.
Way.
Who
No,
knew?
that's a
Who
lie.
knew?
That can't be true.
It is.
It's
It is
true.
crazy, right? So we saw it there. KB Lake G announced officially.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course, it was like worst kept secret in the world, but
Bring in the new year.
Well, and it was a huge surprise because Intel and AMD have been rivals since day zero. And why would they possibly collaborate on a chip? But here we are. We have a 8th generation Core mobile chip and a Radeon.
Vega M.
Yeah,
We
Radeon.
got to go. The full name of the part is Radeon RX. I memorize this. Radeon RX Vega M graphics processor. I forget what it is. It's crazy. It's like
Okay.
it's like a paragraph.
GL. GH.
So
GL and GH.
say it again while I count backwards.
Yeah, it's a Radeon
Okay, 37,
RX
36,
Vega
35, 14, 2,
GL.
20.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
So
he
right
is
now there's
good.
two of them. So there's like GL, which is lower processor, has fewer CUs. GH, higher end version. Both of them are 65 watt parts, and of course the magic of this is 8th gen quad core chip, which uses Intel's new EMIB. God, I can't remember anymore. Embedded die interconnect. It's basically a way that they can connect, the chips on a high speed interface, and you shrink something that might be this big down to this big. It's super tiny. It has a 4 gig stack of HBM2 right next to
Well,
the
and we've already
Vega M.
tested some laptops with this chip, and it's fast.
Yeah. So I mean, they are claiming. We saw two, right? There's two announced: HP Spectre X36015, and also a
That's
XPS
bad
15.
timing on that name, huh?
Which
They're
one?
updating the Spectre right as the middle of all this Spectre and meltdown bugs are going on.
Oh, I know.
Well,
You gotta. I don't know.
The name's been around for a long time. What's HP going to do?
Yeah.
Suddenly
you can't-
change it to Utah?
Yeah, we're going
Sorry,
back to
that's what we
Utah
meant.
Fried Chicken. I don't think they could do that. Yeah, I don't know how. Consumers. I'm gonna hope consumers can understand. Like, oh, it's not the. Oh, I'm actually buying a laptop completely built on some like unsafe technology necessarily. I mean, the name, but yeah.
Mac.
Yeah. So in performance, for people who don't know, it's now officially, so the GL part, the benchmarks, Brad's got something to say about this. The benchmarks, Intel is saying, because we have not actually run independent benchmarks on it. We have touched them, we played with them a little bit, but we haven't been able to benchmark them. GL is 10, they're saying greater than 1050 performance. It's actually like 1.4, 1.3x, 1050,
1.4.
1.4. And then on the GH part, which has more CUs, they're saying maybe 1.3 at 1060 of a GeForce GTX 1060.
1.13.
Yeah,
I have them
so-
right in front of me, so I'm cheating.
Well, I don't think they say whether it's a 6 gig or 3 gig, because there are some 3 gig 1060 laptops. But I'm gonna assume it's the 6 gig, which is what you're seeing in
Well,
most laptops.
yeah.
Well, they said it's higher performance than the 1060 Max Q. the
Oh,
laptop
okay,
chip.
that's it.
And so
You have
that's
memory.
the 6 gig version.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty good.
It's exciting because, as I said before, we've already tested just regular KB Lake G, and going from dual core to quad core on mobile, huge improvement. And if they now add, this Vega M GPU, I mean, that's what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for a mobile GPU that didn't require a big, fat, chunky, heavy laptop, but wasn't as boring as an HD 620.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like that, because they announced KB Lake G,
A couple
what?
months ago.
Maybe several months ago,
November.
right? Couple months.
November.
But then it wasn't until you actually I was like, well, so what are these going to go into? Like Aero 15, which I think is a great laptop, XPS 15 current, fairly thick, Z height, pretty big laptops. They can get 1050,
Yeah.
1060 in there, and 1070 even in the Max Q, in the Aero 15X. But the Spectre X, people don't know this. The Spectre X36015 originally came out as a dual core laptop, so with a 15 watt, chip with
That's wild.
a low end GeForce, and they have crammed that thing with the this basically. If they're saying 1050 plus performance, it sounds like almost 1050 Ti to me, and of course the new XPS 15 2-in-1 is it's just stupidly thin. It's stupidly thin. You'll just be like, there.
Yeah.
It's like, to be fair, it is like MacBook Pro 15 thin. So to get
The thing with those
1050
benchmark
performance,
numbers, though.
Now here's Brad being a hater.
I'm that guy. The thing with those benchmark numbers is that the game frame rates that they provided were in Hitman, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, and Total War Warhammer, and Vermintide 2, which are all heavily skewed towards Radeon graphics versus NVIDIA.
Right.
So it's apples to apples, but kind of, Granny Smith apples versus Golden Delicious apples.
We still heard
So-
Adam crack open his Coke,
Sorry, that was me.
Jeez, Adam.
I need some caffeine.
Although
What?
what did you expect them to benchmark against? But yes, it's important to point out. But it's not like they were going to go and find the NVIDIA optimized benchmarks and run it on that. So.
But we're gonna hope. I think that I think Brad and I gotta say, I hope they're setting expectations right. So
Yes.
if they're saying on the GL part, which we're gonna see in the XPS 15 2-in-1 and the Spectre X360 15, if we're gonna expect 1050 Ti performance, but it's closer to below 1050 or closer to 1050, then it's like, You might be a little, but still, that's incredible to get that performance in something so thin.
Well, and when are we expecting these? It's the spring,
Spring,
right?
I believe. So probably spring.
Indeterminate spring.
Also, did they talk about power here? Because I mean that's still something to always care about in a laptop is how long a battery life you're going to get on this stuff.
Yeah, so the part itself, it's interesting. They rate the entire part at 65 watt TDP. A typical,
that's for the graphics low version.
For the GL version, because we have not seen a GH laptop version. GH is only going into the Nook, which we can talk about in a bit. But the GL version they're calling it a 65 watt part. So people know current Kaby Lake R is a 15 watt part quad core, and then a Kaby Lake. Well, I guess a Kaby Lake in H part, a standard, typical, thick, powerful gaming laptop is H part. Those are 45 watts for the CPU for TDP. So they're saying both parts combo, 65 watts. And the power unit is shared between them, intelligent, so they can actually sort of, if the GPU needs more power, the GPU gets it, if the CPU, so it's all really very, very controlled by Intel on this. So 65 watts total for, GPU and graphics is pretty good. But again, we're talking stupidly, like, I guess maybe not that Carbon X1, but,
No.
Well, and Sai's saying that the graphics high will be 100 watts.
Yes. So the GH version is 100 watts, which, that's a bigger laptop. So we'll see what happens. But I got to say, it's still impressive to get 1050 in this 2-in-1. Most people don't know what this XPS 15 2-in-1 looks like, but it is crazy thin. Hey, it's so thin, there's no USB-A on it.
Oh, God.
And it has a special maglev keyboard. But the Spectre X360 15T, which has been out for a little bit, this is a refresh of that. It's, again, it was a platform built for a 15-watt processor with a, low-end discrete part, so.
Is it easier? Do you think it's going to be easier to cool, like doing it this way? Or
I don't know. I think it's going to be like most laptops, right? The cooler you keep it, the more performance. Or if you're willing to get deal with more fan noise, you'll get more performance. So we'll see. I don't know. I think the battery. I actually didn't see battery life ratings.
The Spectre X360. I mean, assuming they're more or less just plopping this different part into the same chassis, the fan noise on that is pretty moderate.
Yeah. No, they're actually pretty good. As far as the battery, I don't remember there actually being battery disclosed when I wrote the news stories. But I had a discussion with some hardware company, and they said, I think it was maybe 12 to 15 hours. Both of them have different ratings, and we were discussing how they're getting these ratings. But 12 to 15 hours, basically. Video runtime probably for both of these laptops.
Although your mileage is going to vary depending on what you do, of course.
Yeah, so of course you're going to say video rundown, or I think it may even be mobile mark, which is probably the easiest of the battery
I will be interested
benchmarks.
to see, because some of these video rundown tests are run at 150 nits brightness.
Yeah.
And if you get a laptop with a discrete GPU, you probably want to try and play some games.
Yeah.
And you're not going to play games at 150 nits. You're going to crank it up to, 250, 350 if you can. And I don't know what the max is on these things.
Yeah. I think XPS 15 is 400 nits. I don't know what the XPS 360
So if
like
it says 12 to 15 hours, but they're doing it on 150 nits and, stopping every 10 minutes, and that's not, your mileage is going to vary.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you crank up the GPU and I think generally the rule that is always accurate is you'll be lucky if you get an hour and a half on any gaming laptop on the battery.
But that's what I want to see. I want to see if they've somehow broken some.
Yeah, that would be the magical.
Would be interesting.
That would be the magic time when you can get a gaming laptop where you can actually play on the battery for say 3 hours.
Yeah.
That would be just like.
Hey, well, we got a good question from Fernando over on YouTube. He says, he made a comment, but I'm making it a question. Could this be the next CPU for next-gen consoles? Do you see it kind of going that way?
I don't think so, because I think the console, I wish Elena here so I can give her some sideways. So I'll just throw her some shade.
I'm sure
her ears are burning right now.
She's probably listening.
I think it's console makers. It's all about cost. This is not going to be a cheap part. Intel doesn't like to give it away for free, so no, I don't. Yeah, it'll be interesting. My guess is next gen. I would think PlayStation 5 would be Ryzen based, honestly. Be APU based.
I don't think we're going to see a refresh for at least probably 2 or 3 years. So.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I mean, yeah, where's the paper? You can put that down prediction there, Brad. I say PlayStation 5. Didn't I already make that prediction?
Yeah, you did.
PlayStation 5. Was it this year or next year?
I
End of this year,
Who knows?
PlayStation 5. Sony's going to come out, flip a finger at Xbox. Yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
It's all about it's a big motor race now again with those console makers. It feels like.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised though if AMD. I mean, they got good business putting their chips inside these consoles. I'd be surprised if they give any of that up to Intel.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
instead of getting a new console, why don't you get the new Hades Canyon Nook?
Hades
right?
Canyon, Nook, yes, yes, and that is actually the one thing that I saw with the 100-watt version. Wait, it is 100 watt. I think it is 100 watt.
Yeah,
it is
the
100 watt. 'cause
KB Lake 8.
it had that great big 130 watt power brick. So yeah, it's a KB Lake H. It's in a Nook. I don't know if people remember the current Skull Canyon. It's about the size of a VHS cassette. This is thicker, and of course everybody was like, "Hey, this is bigger." And the Intel person was like, "What do you want? Just shut up! It's 100. It's like
I'm glad
we're giving you
someone said
1060
that.
graphics and a box the
I'm
size
glad
of a
he
cassette."
said that. I'm
He was
glad
like-
he didn't just say, well,
Yeah, he was really like, "Oh, come on, give me a break."
exactly.
Because
Good.
previously it was just simply integrated graphics. I mean, the best integrated graphics, Iris Pro, Iris Plus, whatever it is, does not hold the candle to this KB Lake G part. So KB Lake G, we're talking 1060 range performance in a box the size of a VHS tape.
That's pretty good.
For millennials, that's a thing we used to put into this thing to watch television shows on.
Well, they're saying the GL version is 1060 max Q range, right? And the
No.
GH version has 4 more compute units, a bunch more stream processors, so it'll probably be maybe even a little bit above 1060.
I don't know. I thought, oh God, it feels like a year, but I think
Yeah, my brain's
GL
fried.
is 1050 and GH is 1060-ish. That's
yep.
right. Because believe me, if
Yep.
you could get 1060 range, 1060 max Q range in that GL part, you'd be like, yeah, just take my money, because that's just, we're talking like stupid thin, like this MacBook Pro Spectre X360 13 right here. It's just,
With a 360-degree hinge.
It's crazy thin. So if you could get, but again, still to get 1050 out of that 1050 Ti range is like astounding.
That's crazy.
So,
That's good.
It's crazy. And it has a glowing skull on top.
Glowing
So
skull.
what more do you need?
yes, Hades Canyon, which is sort of like, I thought that was kind of funny though, the whole Hades Canyon thing, because like it's got edge, but we don't want to say hell. HE double hockey sticks Canyon. I don't think that really is attitude. Look at HE double hockey sticks. Right? That's just Hades Canyon. Like, I don't even think people know what Hades. I have to go like, what is Hades? What is?
Well, and somebody made a comment earlier. You know, why do they still not sell it with RAM and specific things in it?
Oh, you mean the Nook?
The Nook, yeah.
Well, because so it's a bare bones box. Nooks, you bring RAM, you bring storage, and you bring your OS. They don't sell it build complete, because if you actually put all the hardware in it with the OS, and now you have to support it, so they call you
Yep.
for support. Hey, Intel, I have a problem. I can't log into Windows because I went to the site and now my system is locked. It's like, yeah, no, they don't want to do it. No one wants to deal with that.
That's fine.
So by selling it as bare bones, they ain't got to support it, which is the best
Yeah.
of both things.
Yeah,
Like,
you're on your own, kids.
go call the place that made the operating system instead of us. So yeah,
Nice.
Anyway, that's KB Lake G, right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably.
I thought it was interesting reading all the information that Intel put out about KB Lake G. It never once said AMD anywhere on anything. It always said
Really?
Radeon. Yeah,
Huh.
it always 100% said Radeon. Never
I
once
did
said
not
AMD.
notice that. Interesting. Very good catch there, Brad. Boy, that's
Just
some
amused
shade,
me.
right? You know, and people don't know it is a custom part. They basically, I wonder if did AMD even know they sold it to Intel?
Somebody knew.
Wait, who made this deal?
Yeah, I got this. I just got this PO for Radeon. Want to put? Okay, yeah, it's just a pretty big order.
Going to this address in
Run it
Santa
through.
Clara.
It was-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
Right before Christmas, you know, it's just like, I'll just sign it. Whatever, you know.
Entel or something. I just put it through. It's pretty. Hey, sales a sale, right?
Yeah.
Hey, could you do that? I mean, they must have they must negotiate these things, like whoever you're buying it from. Could they
And sorry, real quick, Leslie says Intel doesn't. They cannot spell AMD. It's not in their vocabulary.
Yeah, I understand if you go there, the keyboards. There's no actual
they pull out
AMD.
The A.
You
the
have
M,
to
and the
do
D.
like a control function something to make another letter make the A and the AMD. That would be funny. But that is really interesting, Brad. That's really good. And let me ask you this. How much of it is it a deal breaker? Because it kind of bugs me because it goes back to an old business model. But drivers for the Radeon part, you have to get from Intel. And that's sort of like we've moved away from that. You know, in the early days of, NVIDIA, ATI/AMD, you had to get the graphics driver from Dell or HP or Sony or whoever made laptop. People got sick of it because what happened was like Sony's the worst case. It's like, you know what? We don't want to support these new drivers because if we do, and it breaks something, we got to like pay money, forget it. We're just going to stop giving you drivers. And that was their solution. That was Sony's solution, I think, it's like that just for gamers, that's just a deal breaker. Now we're sort of back to that with Dell and
You're
HP,
right.
where you got to get the driver from.
Yeah,
Intel.
Intel was very careful to say that, that other company is kind of giving us something, but all the drivers are really coming from us, not them.
Yeah. Maybe
They even have they had screenshots of Relive, the Relive Radeon setting software,
Yeah.
but all done up in Intel Blue.
No.
Really weird. Yeah.
I did not.
Man.
That's interesting. Yeah, maybe they didn't even know. When they just ordered it and had to we want to buy 250,000 of these Radeon parts. I'm going to give you a PO box. Will you ship to that?
Nice.
Yeah, it feels like one of those uncomfortable family relationships where the parents are divorced, but they all have to come to Thanksgiving and they ignore each other.
Yeah, and then everybody eats quietly.
Yeah.
Or
Nice.
that's nice. Well, how are things?
As far as the drivers go, I mean, Intel just started the graphics dedicated division under Raja Koduri. So I consider this kind of like an interesting first step down that path.
Yeah.
Because it's going to depend. Can they reliably put out drivers for these parts? That's going to make a huge difference as to whether or not these machines that are based on it are desirable. And that'll reflect on the graphics division. So I think they're going to do a decent job keeping up on it personally.
Yeah, you know what would suck, though? It's like Roger's first day at Intel.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brian, how's it going? Hey, Roger's going great. You think you could do a new driver for us? It's like, what? I'm doing drivers for AMD again.
Ruru2 over on YouTube, he thinks that Raja going over to Intel is a sign that AMD is getting ready to sell Radeon to Intel.
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's too valuable of a business for AMD at this point. No way. There's just so much value, I think. Brad? Crazy?
Nah, I don't think.
I think it's too early for. No, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, and why would? To me, I would like futures and GPU compute, machine learning, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Why would you sell that IP?
That's half
right?
of their IP.
Yeah.
And so much of AMD's business is built on the idea of APUs, so they need graphics for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just can't see them doing that.
Well, and one of the things they want is that they want their chips in everything. I mean, they're trying to build their
Right, Radeon everywhere. That was one of the key points they mentioned, which is a good segue to our next topic.
No.
Yes, AMD actually had. I was out there Friday early, days early for CES, enjoying the wonderful Las Vegas weather. To meet AMD, they had a lot of editors there to brief us all on their new parts,
I was there
which
on
is
Saturday.
everything, right?
Everything for the next 3 years.
Yes. So basically what it was, a lot of us were hoping for actual hardware in our hands, or at least hardware performance numbers, but they instead just dumped the kitchen sink on us, on everything they're going to be doing. So should I just go? Who can remember this? I don't know, Brad or...
I have it on my screen.
Fred Ripper 2.
So,
Well, yeah. So let's start with Ryzen Plus, which is going to be the second gen Ryzen
12 nanometer.
CPU, 12 nanometers. But then they also talked about they mapped out Ryzen for the next 3 years. And so Ryzen 2, do they call it Ryzen 2?
Zen 2.
Zen 2. Why are they going back to Zen? We thought it
It's
was
the
Zen. They said,
microarchitecture.
no, it's Ryzen. And now they're saying it's Zen again. I'm like...
well, Ryzen is
Whatever.
the consumer chips. Zen is the architecture. So Zen does Threadripper too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just confusing.
So Zen Plus
But anyway, yeah.
Q2 Zen 2, Brad, he's got the map up. I don't know.
Oh,
Zen
yeah.
2018?
I do.
I mean, oh my God. it is 2018.
Yeah, Zen Plus 2018 this year, Zen 2 2019 next year, Zen 3 2020.
Yep.
So,
And-
they say it's going to get more performance in each step than the industry average over the past few years, aka Intel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
they claim is
Total
7 to
throw of
8%
shade.
improvement.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It's, of course, everybody wants to analyze it because they show you the little.
Yeah,
little,
they had the little line
little
charts.
graph, and it's like, they're saying if this, so you go like, well, if this is a 7% increase for Intel year over year, I think they're 5 to 7% is what they're
Intel.
saying.
It's in parentheses, not mentioned.
And then if there is bigger, I mean, it looked like it almost looked like, by the time we get to Zen 3 or Zen 2, it's 20-30% performance increase,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
over the previous generation. It felt like.
That'd be nice.
That's coming out in April.
Yeah, in April for Zen Plus, 12 nanometer April part. And then one of the things they said is like, hey, I think this is very important. Is AMD is very confident because why they're doing the roadmap is they think as Moore's law has slowed down, that Intel cannot run away from them by just having a better process anymore. It's like the old days, they may get close, and then Intel's like, hey, we got this new magic, Area 51 whatever process, and now we're like 20% ahead of everybody again. So
Yeah.
they can't do that because it's clear it's hard for Intel to get to these smaller processes.
I think it was good for them to do. I think they need to show, that Ryzen isn't a flash in the pan. Think they need to throw down the gauntlet and say, this is what we're doing, Intel. Top that.
Right. Oh, and then so
I think it's a show of confidence to people who would buy, like
Yep.
companies too, right?
Yep.
They're like, hey, we got a roadmap. Here's what you can expect from us.
right. Yeah, and I think
We're not going to be stuck with FX chips for 5 years again.
yeah. And I think the other thing is that, it was a little bit of a letdown for some of us, but AMD doing it, I can't remember the last, I can't remember in the last 10 years, the last time AMD laid out a roadmap for anybody, because frankly, nobody cared because their parts weren't spectacular. So they didn't. And then now they're like, hey, here's next 2 years, 2 years plus. So even the GPU on Threadripper, second generation Threadripper, second half this year as well. And then GPU roadmap, which I can't remember anything.
No, you're
out.
forgetting one.
What?
You're forgetting one that I find most interesting.
What?
Even before the Zen Plus chips come out in April, they're releasing 2 new Ryzen APUs in
right.
February. So these are basically Ryzen chips that have some Vega cores baked in. Because one of the drawbacks, you could say, of Ryzen right now is that it's just pure CPU. You need discrete graphics in order to, output video to your monitor. These APUs are going to negate that, so that takes away the Intel advantages on that front. They're going to have 2. They're both under $170. One's $100. One's $170. They have Vega cores. They're coming out in February. So
right, and that $100 one
those.
is really kind of like appealing in a lot of ways because although I think the performance is maybe, it's not going to be spectacular, right? Because you're looking at using main system memory, but I think it's not remotely close to a 1050. I think like a 1040 maybe. I don't know what.
I'm hoping they
can't
send me one.
Oh, I'm sure they will. And I think it is important for them to have that gap because it was a bummer to like, if you wanted to build a system with a $50 motherboard and a $100 CPU,
Yeah.
you had to go out and buy a $100 GPU or $50 GPU at least. So I think they're saying, I wish I should have had these. I can dig up the numbers if we want to, but it can play games, decent games. Esports level of games on
World
the
of
$100
Warships.
chip.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
World
they
of
did
Warships.
talk about that.
Yeah, I could probably run that. I run that on a 940, so I can run it on a 940 mobile part. It's not fun. But.
So we have people in the YouTube chat going back and forth on guesses for the max core clocks on Zen Plus and Zen 2. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, and I will say publicly they've said Zen Plus, it's got improved boost performance, right? They have precision boost better, and and I honestly think the way I sort of look at it, I heard this echoed from a lot of industry people I talked to at CES because everybody wants to just kind of chat about what's up, what we think. Zen was, I don't care. Yeah, for the most part, not a great overclocking part, not a great. 4 gigahertz was sort of like what you got, right? And that's like everybody got 4 gigahertz max. I think Zen Plus fixes all those little kind of tiny problems. I would think, we'll probably see mid to low 4s in some of these things, and maybe better overclocking
On the high end ones,
on the high end ones.
Yeah.
So they had to come out with something. Zen came out, Ryzen, and then we're going to get this Ryzen Plus that will have actually decent. It sort of fixes all those little things that bug people, I think.
And it's happening so fast, which is great too. Like you really feel like they just keep moving forward and improving, which is what you want to see.
Right. Yeah, and there was a new chipset announced. In fact, I saw a motherboard. Gigabyte showed me a next generation Ryzen motherboard.
Oh, secrets. Are you able to talk about that? No.
I said, "What's the sticker covering this thing?" I said, "We can't say what it is." Clearly, if I pulled that sticker off, it would have said, X470, right? So that's the new chipset. Marginal changes. I mean, again, it probably is sort of AMD's like, "Hey, here's all the things we had to fix. We fixed them in Zen Plus, and it'll be, very competitive. Good part, right, for the most part."
Like what kind of things do you think they're going to be fixing?
Well, I think it'll hit higher clocks. I don't know if they'll get per core overclocking. That would be kind of nice. I don't know if we're going to necessarily get that. Probably better memory ability to address better, faster, higher. Without it's just it got a little weird with the memory sometimes, and just all those little things just being a lot of bug fixes. So it's just a better parts plus. So I guess you can almost look at it like
the new like over time it's got a lot better. The memory was a big issue when it first came out. Now it's a lot better. You can reliably hit 3,000 plus.
Right.
And hopefully this next generation, the motherboards and processors handle it much more smoothly.
Right. Oh, and then also Threadripper second generation. Did we mention that?
Nope.
Not yet. But didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, so they're saying, hey, officially it's on the roadmap, second half of this 2018. We'll see a new Threadripper.
Nice.
I mean, I guess it's probably we shouldn't call it second generation or Threadripper 2, but
more cores. That's my prediction.
Nice.
More cores.
More cores. I put that on paper last time. Yeah.
I kind of wonder. Could they, for Ryzen, not obviously Threadripper is great and all that, but could one of those things that enables them to hit that 30% increase in, previous year, could that be, hey, consumer Ryzen will be a 10-core part, 12-core? Could they actually push that up higher than 8? Maybe that's their secret.
That would be nice.
Stack on more cores to get you more performance.
That's kind of what Intel did this generation.
Right.
With the 6-core parts.
So that could maybe Zen 3, right? Zen 2.
Yeah.
Zen 3 could push up the core count. What do you want to see in the new Threadripper? Anybody?
Higher speeds. I mean, the same way with Ryzen. Higher speeds. Better memory compatibility out of the box. Those are the two big things for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the wave of all the Spectre and Meltdown stuff, looking like it's giving Intel chips could give Intel chips a decent hit in performance. I'm curious to see what AMD is able to do if they can hit higher speeds out of the box with these.
Right. It's interesting because again, talking to I can't remember. I've talked to so many people about so many different things, but Threadripper, people are like, what do you think? What do you think? And like, I've heard people say, we've seen these things. They're not really selling great. So it's interesting. Well, I mean,
Really?
It's very interesting because I have no real hard numbers. This could just be hearsay. Everybody's drunk. Everybody's smoking. It's CES. It could be just simply whatever. But let me just say, some people say, yeah, it's not like this thing is lighting the world on fire. Well, what do you think? And I was telling him, it's like, my thought is like, look, Threadripper, I love it. I absolutely love it. Is it as every bit, is it as good as, Skylake X and everything kind of single way? Yeah, probably not. There's definitely some things Skylake X does better, but at the same time, who cares for the amount of money?
Yeah,
It's
the
just such
value.
Yeah.
I mean, Threadripper gives you a ton of power for, far less money than Skylake X. You go ahead and buy Skylake X if you have the money, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think a lot of the way some people sort of see it is like, yeah, this is still in some people's eyes, like if you had to have the best thing, it is still Skylake X. You get more cores, you get higher clocks. There's just a little more buttoned down, and they sort of see this as like, yeah, for people who want like the very best thing, but they also understand for consumers who do want something better. Like for me, I'm never going to be able to afford a 18-core Skylake X, but 16-core Threadripper, I just like it. It's like it's for everybody.
Yep.
So that's why I think it's really still a fantastic part.
Yeah,
magical part.
and there are a lot of everybody's.
Yeah, and
So it surprises me actually that Threadripper isn't selling better because it is such, a much better value overall.
right. But at the same time,
there have been times if you look at the Amazon bestseller CPU list, which is not anything you can quantify, but it's one of the better sources for getting a feel of what's selling around.
Right.
There have been times where there's been Threadripper chips on
Really?
there, which is
That's
pretty
pretty good.
amazing when you think about it.
Hell, I could.
You don't
believe it.
often see $1,000 chips on the Amazon bestseller list,
Right.
So I don't think it's a dud by any stretch of the.
No, it's not. They're not saying it's a dud, but they're. I think it's also people have to put scale in perspective. If you were to look at all CPUs sold, like Ryzen or Coffee Lake, 98% of those chips that consumers buy would be either Coffee Lake class or Ryzen class, right? Or KB Lake, and then 1 to 2% of those would be Skylake X. 1 to 2% of those would be Threadripper. So these are never going to be high volume parts anyway. But it just
I know.
Yeah.
I associate with a lot of like YouTube's Let's Players and Twitch streamers and stuff, and double-digit figures of them. Like I know a ton of people who, as soon as Threadripper came out, they were excited for it and bought it immediately for their Twitch streams and whatnot.
Right.
Because they could never get something like that they could not afford the Intel chips.
No.
So
Nobody could ever pay, how much Intel wants for those
Yeah.
parts. So that's what the magic of Threadripper is. But, again, you sort of recognize, Skylake X, there are some things it does, a lot of things it does better. So, except save you money.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of money, there's also been some big price drops. We have people here in the chat asking, should they go for the price drops now or wait for this new stuff coming up? What do you guys think?
Oh, that's
I would go for those price drops on the second personally. $350 for the high-end 8-core Ryzen 7 1800X. $350. Last CES 2017, the only 8-core part you could buy was $1,100.
Oh.
This year, you can get the 1800X after these price drops for $350.
Wow.
You will have no buyer's regret buying that. No buyer's remorse.
Yeah, why don't we go over all the cuts? Because they made some good cuts there.
Yeah, basically all the Black Friday deals are kind of permanent, right? So I don't.
You don't
if I remember right,
We don't have all the numbers.
$350
here.
for the 1800X. I'm just going to go off my memory, so I'm just on a price quote. About $300. Well, see, maybe
$300 for the 1700.
$300 for the 1700X, and maybe $280, $310, and about Brad must have it, but and about $300. Good.
Yeah. $300 for the 1700.
Yeah, and a lot of the other 1600X and all those kind of basically. Yeah, the big cuts are at the top end. The lower ones are, you might save $20 on a 1600X, 1500 part. But I got to say, I've always loved the Ryzen 1700 because $300. But now I got to say, I think I'd do the 1700X. Give up the free Wraith cooler. And that was the big news. That was actually the big news. We forgot all the roadmap, whatever. They came out with the new Wraith cooler LEDs. So that was it's got LEDs, Brad. I didn't have a good
People
picture of
buy
it,
it.
so I didn't. That was probably the biggest AMD announcement. That's when they're like, it'll be like all this roadmap stuff and like, oh my God, Wraith cooler with RGB. It's like,
You joke,
really?
but every time I've written about the Wraith cooler in the past, when they first announced it, when it went on sale by itself, those posts blew up. People love that thing.
I wanted to. I would have written a story about it, but it was watermarked. I got I did not have a good enough image of the Wraith cooler because they didn't show it to us, and we only saw it in the presentation. So, but I think it's white too. I forgot. I mean, it looks nice.
It should be white if it's a Wraith.
It's got RGBs though. It's got RGB.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, just like this fidget spinner. Yeah, nice.
I was just thinking
Boom.
about that.
All right.
Also, real quick, somebody in the chat mentioned that Elena was probably really happy about the price cuts.
Oh, yeah.
And Elena Yee chimed in. She rose
Yeah.
from her grave and said, "I am," in all caps.
yes, of course.
So,
She's like Darth Vader looking down on Tatooine. This feels familiar or something. Like that. Yeah, you live there. You grew up, Darth. Look right here, 100. Main Street.
All right. Where are you going with
as
this story?
Nowhere.
As interesting and enthusiastic I was looking at all this Ryzen news, I was kind of bummed out by the Radeon side of things, to be honest, because they showed off a roadmap there too.
Right. Yeah. 7 nanometer Vega. Not for us.
Yeah, this year only for machine learning.
Which is odd. But
No, it's not odd. It's $100,000 versus
Sure.
whatever they would charge.
yeah, we
normal
could sell you
people.
this, brand new Vega 56 for $200.
It's the same thing with
or-
NVIDIA.
Yeah.
NVIDIA is putting all their newest GPUs in their machine learning stuff because they are selling those computers for like $500,000.
Yeah. You can't,
Right?
you
We can't compete with that.
Can't complain. Can't complain. Well, they got something next year. 7-nanometer Navi.
Oh, it doesn't say next year. They
Or
said this
some
year
point.
there's 7-nanometer Vega. In 2020, I guess it implies next year. There's next gen unnamed
Right.
7-nanometer plus chip, and somewhere in the middle is Navi. So
Right. So it could be next
We'll
year.
see.
I would expect it next year. I would hope.
the graphics card market is a mess right now. Anyway, at this point, with all the Bitcoin going crazy and stuff, it's gotten even worse over the holidays. At this point, you can't even buy 1080 Ti's. They're sold out, going for $1,000.
Really?
So you can't get a 1050 Ti for under $200. Everything's just. I was at Best Buy the other day, and there was a single graphics card on the shelf, a single 8 gigabyte XFX Radeon 580, which is supposed to be a $260 thing, and it was on Best Buy was selling it for $500.
Oh,
God. Yeah. I got to tell you
heartbreaker.
that, like, since the beginning of the show, people have been chatting all like amongst themselves about graphics card prices and still being so hard. I've even been talking with some people who might take some of my old graphics cards off.
oh,
my
I
hands.
see. Oh, yeah. Adam's using the chat
Making
to
some
sell his
deals.
stuff.
Making some deals.
But this one, it's not necessarily driven by mining, though, right? There's something else.
I think it's all tied into that. I think it's because Bitcoin's going so high, Ethereum's going high. Even Dogecoin is hitting new records, or however you pronounce that. I never knew how to pronounce that
Doge.
stupid dog.
Doggy.
And it's just everyone wants to get in on that.
But I don't understand it because I swear to God, you could get a 1060 for almost normal pricing 3 months ago, right? And now we're back to,
You could get it in the middle of early December.
and then now suddenly
it's-
it's just a spike. And
It's like the cheapest GTX 1060 6 gigabyte that I saw on Amazon 2 days ago was $360.
God,
So-
that's bad. Yeah, and actually, I was talking to someone. And they said, like, yeah, this year is going to be ugly for memory too. Main system memory is
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
like it is going to be brutal. People are going to be unhappy.
Well, luckily we're getting those permanent CPU cuts,
Yeah,
the
you're getting
Ryzen cuts. So maybe offset the price a little bit.
Buy your 1800X for $350, and you pay $600 for a 580, right? So I don't. But yeah, I think they were blaming Samsung. They're saying Samsung's taking some profits, and RAM people, they have to make their money too, right? But they're saying,
but I guess overall, what I wonder is, is there any end to this? Is it? I know that we've talked about how this graphics card isn't doing it anymore. They've changed it, so it's not going to matter anymore. But it just seems like they've taken over, and so it's like no one else can buy one. Which
It's like holding us hostage.
Is there a capacity issue? Are the graphics cards companies have no motivation to put the prices back down to a reasonable level?
well, they're not.
Well, the problem is it's like a crazy bubble right now.
Yeah.
And either it's a crazy bubble or it's not.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to pop, and they don't want to invest all that money for when it does pop. They'll be stuck with everything. Or if it winds up lasting a year, I'm sure they'll ramp up capacity. But they're selling out of everything they can make right now.
Yeah.
So.
Right. They
Well,
don't want,
and
they don't wanna
I
be
feel like
caught.
I heard some people talking about buying fully built PCs just to get the cards out.
Oh,
of them,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, CyberPower was saying that. Yeah, it's like, how come all our systems are on eBay? Because they get allocation for the cards, so you can. They're really. I mean, there's only way to get an RX 580 at one point was to buy a budget gaming box for. And it's crazy. They say they buy. You get an RX 580 system Ryzen build for whatever $700, $800, $1,000. They get the thing, strip the RX 580, and sell the rest of it on eBay for $500. They ended up, or $600. They ended up making money.
I wonder what that post on eBay looks like. It's like, hey, brand new, never been used, except we took out the graphics card.
Right. Or they just put like an old
how did
graphics
that
card in
happen?
there. I don't know. That's kind of a bummer.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's even
maybe
tough
Yeah,
for them
and-
to
and
get stuff.
In a situation like that, who can blame them for not rushing out Navi or whatever, or not giving Vega 7-nanometer to consumers? HBM2 chips, that also adds a lot of cost. So if they can sell them to machine learning and miners directly, then
Yeah.
I'm not surprised they will.
Yeah, that's what I got to wonder too. Is like even in getting back to KB Lake G, but KB Lake G part that eats an HBM2 module, so that's yet one more HBM2 module that AMD and Nvidia can't get for their parts. So that's got to drive up the price a little bit.
Well, sorry. Side note: Mad Max is saying that South Korea is going to ban Bitcoin trading.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I saw that this
So
morning.
it might affect some stuff, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I saw Gigabyte had, I saw their mining board. You remember they launched a mining
China
board last
is.
year?
I'm sorry, China.
China.
Is, yeah.
It's uncontrolled currency,
Well,
right?
And Kodak came out with a mining computer.
Oh, that Kodak
That's
thing.
how you
was-
know it's a bubble, right?
Of
The
course,
Kodak.
Kodak.
Is Kodak even around anymore?
They
oh
are.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're a Bitcoin firm now. They sell ASICs.
Their
They're
stock
called
is crazy
cash
now,
miners.
man.
Yeah.
Stop working on that film emulsion. What am I doing now? Well, you're keeping this Bitcoin farm running.
Kodak, the new leaders in mining.
That makes no
Man.
sense. That's just
So-
crazy.
You might have better luck, like we were saying, buying full systems with graphics chips in them. That might be work out better financially for you in the near term. Coincidentally, AMD also announced that Vega Mobile's on the way this year, so we'll be seeing discrete Vega chips and laptops sooner than later. I'm not sure if they announced an actual date for that, but they're
No,
coming.
they showed it on stage, but they didn't say necessarily when it's going to come out. No performance numbers, but I think everybody's interested in the power because, right, Vega 56, I'm going to imagine, is what it's going to be, 56-ish. Not exactly a great power performer on desktop. Is that going to hurt them in laptops? I'm very interested to see.
The thing with the desktop chips is they cranked them past their optimal power curve to be able to better compete specifically with the 1070 and 1080. So they're cranked way past what they're tuned for. So I think when they downclock them inside of laptops, we'll see much better power efficiency.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah, because that would not be good. That would not be good if it was
Yeah.
just a power hog in a laptop. So that's not the way the industry is going right
Nope.
now. So, oh man, is there
Great.
anything left from AMD? There's got to be. That's everything,
I
right?
think that's-
GPUs, CPUs, X470 motherboard, Vega mobile, APUs. There's so much stuff you can't even keep track of all the
I
stuff
think
they talk
it's
about.
time to move on.
Yes, time move
Yeah.
on, which onto a very big subject.
Bum,
Very
bum,
big.
Bum,
Boom.
A big,
So big.
format subject.
Yeah, and Brad is into it.
Ooh.
And Adam, his reaction not quite as positive. NVIDIA's
don't worry.
BFGD.
Don't worry, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so NVIDIA announced a 65-inch BFGD, which is basically a great big gigantic display, 4K HDR, 140 hertz, 144,
120.
144,
120? No,
120.
120
Oh,
hertz,
huh.
120
Oh,
hertz.
It only looked like. Anyways, go on.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So 65-inch display. Now
G-Sync HDR.
G-Sync
So these
HDR.
are these are G-Sync HDR displays, like the ones they announced last year, but never actually came out yet.
Oh.
This is another one of those, but gigantic.
And with a Shield TV built in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's to me. It's like, yeah, okay.
Hey, it's nice.
Yeah,
You
nice
gotta
to
have
have
it. It's nice to have it. I love the Shield. It's awesome, but
Well, it's good. It's the Shield TV part. Jared, who is Tech Hive's Cord Cutter Confidential columnist, he's our streaming
Yeah.
guru. He actually said that's the best smart TV, flat out, the best Android TV that was at CES.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
oh really?
interested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get one. I
Shield
don't have-
console?
yeah.
It's the Cadillac or Lexus, depending on where you swing. But it's the Cadillac or Lexus of Android TV boxes. I have one. I really like it. It's
Well,
fast. It's responsive.
And I
controls
still
are
use
great.
my Shield tablet. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But so one thing they did not want to call it. It's not a television. It's not a television. Every time everybody would say, "Wow, this is a great
Oh,
TV." It's not television.
They
It's
were
not television.
adamant
It's,
about
it's
it.
because televisions need the antennas or whatever
tuner.
to take
Tuners,
the,
no.
tuner.
There's no
Yeah.
ATSC tuner.
It is a television, but it's not technically a television.
Well, yeah, it's not a television, and the argument is you could of course make is no one watches ATSC anymore, which is not true, but Do you think it's so? Okay, now that Brad is very excited about it. Why are you excited about it, Brad?
Well, the same reason I'm excited about G-Sync HDR monitors in general. They're like the holy grail of monitors if they turn out being as awesome as the ones I saw last year at CES.
Okay.
Super bright, 1,000 nits. HDR looks amazing. I think HDR is a bigger deal than 4K. 120 hertz 4K. Right now, you can only get 60 hertz 4K monitors right now. So these things are the best monitors you can buy. And this one's bigger than my TV. So
Now Adam has
I'm intrigued.
Adam has another opinion.
Well, listen,
I saw it with him.
the promise of it, yes, is awesome. I mean, who wouldn't want that? The promise of that, and the promise of what we saw last year with the displays that they were showing off. The promise is great, but what they showed off was hot garbage. When I got my eyeballs on it, it was hot garbage. So it has a long way to go to actually fruition. The idea is awesome.
What was the issue?
So the issue the build quality, whatever. They had 3 different manufacturers, Predator, the Acer Predator,
Asus, HP, Acer, right?
Yeah. So they all had their own spins on it, and I get it. It's early. It was just a plastic shell for the most part. I even looked around back of the HP one, and it was running off an external power supply, a PC power supply.
Right.
Hey, I get it. It's early days. That's
crazy.
They'll piece that together. For me, it was more the display. They were all using the same panel. I don't remember the name of the company, but they're all sourcing the same panel. And they showed off some demos, some slides, and then switched over to Destiny, whatever. It was fine. And then somebody was like, "Oh, hey, can I run it on lower settings?" And so they switched over the settings, and they're like, "Oh, we need to relaunch the software." When they went to the desktop background was pure black. And they weren't talking about, how many lighting zones or anything they had in it. And when they dragged the mouse across the TV, the lighting zone was literally
display.
Display.
There's no tuner.
Whatever. Yes. Across the display was literally this big. So as you saw the mouse go across, they were just lighting up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just huge zones. So I get the build quality is early days, but the panel itself is or way early days as well.
Well, yeah. I mean that, but now to be fair, it's who knows. There's a lot of tuning to happen before.
Of course.
It does make you go like, because it's like this big ass display with literally a thermal take power supply.
I
think, from your PC sitting on the desk running the thing.
I think it's more like if you're going to announce it and then show it to people, don't have it be like that.
Like it
That's
really
gonna be your
felt
first impression.
Exactly. Yeah. Even when Brad and I saw the displays last year, sure the off axis was a little wonky, but I didn't get a sense of anything like that. Even the build quality felt there. Especially compared to this really felt like they just kind of had to slap something together. Because other than that, when we went to go see NVIDIA, I mean, they didn't really have anything else to show off.
Yeah.
That's
what I was gonna say is like they had nothing else
as far as hardware goes.
For us, yes.
For hardware.
Well, but I mean, even the game stream thing on PC, cool. I want to try it out. But especially compared to last year, they had the new Shield TV. They had. I wonder where that little dot thing was that. You plug into the wall. I don't know. It felt early days in a way, and when I kept asking them, hey, what's the subpixel arrangement? How many zones of lighting? And they were like, oh, we're not talking about those right now. We're not talking about those right now. It's like. You're not talking about them because it is super early day, So.
Yeah, it's very early. And the panel, I believe they said was an AU Optronics. So they've long had an association with AU for a lot of the G6 stuff.
And it's not like they can't make a good, good panel.
It's early.
I'm sure they can. Yeah, it just right now, what I saw, I was like, oh, it's like being really excited for something, then showing up and being like, oh, this is what it is right now.
Yeah, you hope it's going to be there when it launches. But I gotta say, I'm going to count myself with Brad. I love the concept now, and I think
that sounds like something.
I still love the concept as well. I still love the concept as well.
No, I want to say this because a lot of people go like, because this thing is not going to be cheap. This is not going to be a $500 Costco special. This is probably going to be minimum $2,000 to $3,000 65-inch panel. I don't know how it could be. I mean, it's going to be a crap load of money, but to me, the concept is really good because it's what we need is a bigger display that is also very importantly tuned for lower latency. Televisions, of course, people go like, "Oh, I got a 4K TV, I play it." It's like, man, it's terrible. Generally, playing games.
Really is.
Hayden was here. He's like, it's terrible, right? You play games, You hook your PC up to a TV, it's terrible compared to a really good panel.
Even
an average panel.
Well,
it's
and
not
even
great.
in game mode, most TVs have like a low latency game mode. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it never works. I mean, and also they weren't talking about the latency on this. They were,
Well,
you know.
they sort of, we talked on background, people said like, yeah, it's going to be, it's definitely comparable,
Yeah.
but compared to a lot of television gaming with the gaming PCs is not really a great combo. People say it is because, hey, you don't know, you're not A-Bing it with something. But if you played next to a real panel, you'd be like, oh, what is up with this?
Latency probably doesn't matter as much in World of Warships, right?
Yeah.
Well, there are probably a lot of
competitive.
issues they need to work out, though, because if you're talking about a super high refresh display of that size, you're talking about how they're using a separate PC power supply.
Yeah.
What is the power supply going to look like for that display?
I don't know.
And is it going to be a thing where you turn it on and then everything else in your house dims?
Yeah, kind of like the show floor at CES.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
Yeah.
So, it's something where I wonder maybe they should have waited until their conference that they
Closer.
usually have in May or something.
It was too early.
It was too
on the
early,
show.
but it was this big stage. They wanted to say something, and everything else was about smart cars and machine learning and crap like that. But it's a bummer because it's so exciting, but it seems like it really kind of left a bad taste in your mouth.
For Adam.
Yeah.
I got
Intel-
excited. What? Go ahead, Brad.
Intel and AMD both had big announcements at the show. I think NVIDIA didn't want to not have a big announcement, literally big announcement
Yeah.
in this case at the show.
Well, but I think an even bigger announcement would have been to follow up on what on last year, the displays they had last year. Like, I mean, we're still not seeing those. Like, they could have come out and been like, and here they finally are. Here's what's,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was bummed they weren't even showing it off there. They weren't like, oh, you remember that stuff we showed last year? Here it is again.
Yeah.
They didn't even do that. It
Well, and
was-
what about the game streaming too?
I mean, they had the game streaming set up.
Yeah.
I have secret info there.
Yeah.
You
do.
expect. So I was like, yeah, what's up with that?
Gordon, don't talk
It's
about
not
it.
secret. So I was like, of course, it's like, hey, what's up with we haven't seen these damn things yet. It's like, I was told this quarter. This
Okay.
quarter, we
Yeah.
will see those 4K CR panels, right? So
That's
soon.
what either Acer or Asus, who were the two who were making them, they pushed them back to first quarter 2018. So
Yeah. And I
fingers crossed. I really want to see one of those really, really bad.
Yeah.
I need
Oh,
to
yeah.
get past 60 frames per second at 4K.
yeah. So you know what I want to note though? So like, again, I love the concept because, it's funny because when they did the demo, they had, mouse and keyboard, but sitting maybe 5 or 6,
About 6 feet.
about
yeah.
6 feet from the television, which I thought was a little weird because it sort of like went to that, like about in your vision, it looked about this big. And I was
Like a normal monitor, almost.
well, you wouldn't sit like for
depends.
me, I would sit right up on that. Like I moved it up to like 3 feet and like it just
Yeah,
it wraps
Wow.
around.
He
you.
literally grabbed the table and he was like, "Hey, can I move this closer? Can I move?" And they're
Wow.
like, "Sure, okay."
Yeah, like
It's
to me.
because Gordon's a little nearsighted.
Well, no, you wouldn't. So like I think the mistake is to think people want to have their whole idea is like this could be for ultimate nerd cave. Like sit there with your controllers.
Yeah, and you sit,
But I don't wanna
back on a couch. Yeah,
7 feet away from a 65-inch TV. I want to just basically use it as my
It wasn't a TV, it was a
BFGD. It's
display.
big
It
ass
wasn't a
display
TV.
and-
Sorry.
right? What?
Yeah, it wasn't a TV.
It wasn't a TV, but I'm just saying. I just wanted to feel. I really would just use it as a big monitor. 65.
It's
Whoever
it's
said
like
no, this is my thing. Who has ever said no to a bigger monitor? Hell no, nobody. If they said like
Well,
at work they give me a
unless-
60-inch TV,
unless it
or
was like
display, I would
1080.
take it.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
unless
still
it's
you
1080.
need the resolution there.
But then it'd be
Picky,
retro
picky.
8-bit. Everything would look retro 8-bit. So that's kind of cool. But
if you don't have room to set up like a Vive setup, you can get one of these, put on the wall, sit back like 2 feet, and just pretend it's VR.
right. So
There you go, one for each
One of the
eye.
interesting things that I thought about it was the G-Sync itself
yes,
actually gives benefits to the television, Android TV, Shield TV side of it, because it can play different native frame rates, like 24 FPS, 25 FPS at the native output
Yeah.
without needing to switch modes and go dark and whatnot. It just plays it automatically because it has G-Sync. So it's a lot less hassle than if you're trying to look at videos in their native output today and switching between formats.
Well, yeah, and they did talk about whether they were showing off some content on Amazon Prime, right? That the Switch it
was native.
yeah. Well, they were saying it like one of the video series like somehow changes frame rates in between clips like of one video, and
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, and it'll match whatever the native was. So yeah.
Oh, and the one other thing though. So this just tells you again, it is a BFGD. It is not a television. It has DisplayPort on it.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen DisplayPort on a big ass TV. Never.
It's not
ever.
a TV.
So it is not a TV. It is a BFGD, literally, right? Could you imagine that? They just said like, hey, what are we going to do to launch? They're just like, well, what if you just hit the 2X button? Oh, that's great. Click the print button, 65-inch display.
Yeah.
Easy.
No, and
I really appreciate the name too. I just want to set that up before we move on.
that's really.
I don't
name,
understand, Brad.
That's great.
It's technically big format gaming display, but if anybody who's ever played Doom, the ultimate weapon in there,
Everyone
was the
should
big
play
freaking
Doom.
gun, the BFG. So
Yeah. No, it's a good name. It's
Yeah.
probably the best thing about it right now.
Yeah. And I think officially it's supposed to be this summer, right?
Yeah, right. No way.
yeah, that's what they're
No.
saying this summer.
No way. No way.
Last year
No
at
way.
last CES, they also said that the initial G-Sync HDR monitors are going to be out last summer.
Yeah,
So don't hold your breath.
I'll say it right now.
It's going to cost
summer.
you your firstborn too.
I'll say right now, I will eat some paper if it comes out anytime this year.
They're going to do it just to make you
Ooh.
like eat that paper.
Yeah.
It's not going to be it'll be a 65-inch piece of paper. Too.
You know what? I will eat a very large sheet of paper if any of them come out this
We're
year.
going to like make a burrito out of it or something. It's be like, I don't know. It's going to be cool. I like the idea. So
I love it. I love pushing to the limit.
Yeah.
Yep. Right in my girl gaming is what I want to see when it hopefully comes out, if it does.
Elena in chat says, someone mark that in all caps.
She's not taking that bet. She's smarter than that. She's like, whatever. And all she does is bait you into taking these bets, I bet. Yeah, that's interesting. You want to make a bet on that?
No. I have a sensitive stomach.
Yeah, sensitive stomach. Okay, last topic.
Yes.
Everybody's favorite picks. What CES? It's just like an explosion of hardware and software and craziness. What did everybody came up? What'd you come back from CES? What's the
Fidget spinner. I'm just kidding.
RGB fidget spinner?
Actually, I have a really good one that Gordon and I can talk about. We saw our friends over at Creative Labs. Ryan, friend of the show. We'll definitely have him on again. They were showing off their Super X-Fi experience. They had like a demo set up. I did it. Gordon did it, and then also Mike Brown on Tech Hive did it. Now Mike Brown he's very much into the consumer audio space. Does a lot of the systems. I was actually talking about. Have you talked about his? Have you ever talked with him about his room at home where he tests all this stuff?
No, but I do know from talking to Mike, he takes his audio seriously.
Oh, yeah.
He takes his audio seriously.
He takes it very serious. Yeah, no, he doesn't have a floating floor, but he pretty much has everything other than that. A two-door system with, the double walls, like it's a serious setup. Anyway, he took the demo first. Ryan, we were talking to Ryan at PepCom and he's like, man, after Mike took the demo, he said, that's freaking awesome.
He said freaking, really?
He
like
didn't say
double
freaking.
hockey sticks?
Yeah, he said that's HE double sticks. Awesome. And Mike Brown is a very, he can be hard to read sometimes. And they were like, whoa, wow, we finally got through to, I mean, not that it didn't get through to people, but then he was like, you need to come make time. So we made time in our calendar to both go see it.
Yeah.
Separately, I saw it first, or heard it first. So yeah, we'll walk through the experience, I guess. So they before you get in there, they have a smartphone app that they take pictures of both your ears and your face to understand the physical properties of it, and then give you like a little hexadecimal readout. Mine was 2B-5. That was my structure. And then they sit you down in there. They also run through a series of like tuning the room. So you put microphones in your ears, and it blasts the room with frequency patterns, and it kind of understands the rest of that stuff. And then they played some stuff. It was just a stereo headset, really nice headset, but just a stereo headset. And they're like, hey, here's how it sounds just normally. And then we're going to turn on the mapping
Super X-Fi.
the Super X-Fi chip processing thing they had to realistically bring out the 5.1 in the room. So they actually did have a 5.1 setup. They also played there.
5.1.2.
Yeah,
Two speakers.
Yeah, you're right. And then put it on the headset, and I was floored. I've heard these demos before in professional audio applications. That's my background. So like, you know, I knew the power of understanding the mapping, of understanding the facial structure. But to see it on a consumer level, and to see it possibly come to smartphones and PC gaming and movies and all that sort of stuff, I'm not, this is not hyperbole. I literally almost teared up. Like the promise of it was like,
it's
just
beautiful.
Yeah. I was like, wow, you guys did it. You know, like it was huge. What do you think, Gordon? Did you enjoy it?
Well, wait, I have a question first. So they like measured your head and took pictures. How is that going to work in real life?
They had, so it was two ways. You can either do the picture thing. It's just an app that they're going to release. So you would have somebody just take pictures, you know, and it'll spit out a little profile because they kind of have like a mapping of it. But more, if you want it more refined, you put the microphones in your ears and it hears the space. So, you know, most home theaters now come with that little disc that you can kind of tune a room. You know, they could just, you know, do like a cheap pair of microphones that you put in your ear and do it that way. So that's more accurate, but like the actual smartphone app was super accurate as well. So
last year at last CES, not this year, I tried headphones that kind of did the same kind of thing with just the in-ear part by a company called Osik. And what they did is actually built sensors into the headphone itself, and it automatically mapped your ear using those sensors, took all the pain out of it.
Well, and just as important is the face of your shape, you know, or
The
shape of your face. I'm tired. I'm sorry, Jesus. You know, because the way sound propagates through the room, you know, your face is blocking certain reflections. The way that, you know, if it comes straight at you, how it'll, you know, propagate around your cheeks. So, you know, I think having all that information there is super important, and more importantly, just understanding how to then map it into a space. You know, and I didn't do this because I wasn't there, but supposedly Mike Brown and Ryan switched profiles to say, hey, you know, this is how Ryan heard it, and Mike could hear a completely different. You know, he's like, yeah, it didn't feel quite right. It was off. You know, just because the shape of their face and ears are different. So it's customized for you, and it understands you, and then also the you know, tries to recreate a physical space that you could be in. So
could you game it if you filled your mouth with Cheetos and blew bubble gum while it was running?
I mean, you would ruin your experience, yes. But
Yeah, and so they're when they bring it to consumers, probably the first way you'll get it is the application where you take a picture of your ear and your face, and then it maps it.
Yeah.
And then they're also hoping to do, hopefully, they haven't quite figured out the cost yet, but you will build up. They're hoping you can have the microphones in your ear so that, you know, you can map it more accurately, because it's about mapping it to your head, basically.
Is it like putting earbuds in your ears? Because of course, the first thing I think of is the earworms in Wrath of Khan.
I mean,
that'd be cool.
Actually,
that would be so cool.
Yeah, right?
They should do it that way.
No, just think of those like construction, those little yellow construction guys that you put in. Cut it in half and glue a little bit microphone on it. So essentially, you just need the microphones to stay in your ear while it you know, pounds it with frequencies.
Yeah, and so the thing is, we're talking the reference speakers they use are these.
Oh, they were nice.
It's like $3,000 to $4,000 reference speakers, Dolby Atmos. You know, again, 5.1.2,
and the whole room was tuned. Like I remember Susie came in to see the demo, and she's like, "Where should I?" Yeah, from Creative. I'm sorry. She came in to see the demo, and she asked the technician, "She like, where should I sand?" Because, you know, it's already been tuned for everything that's already in that room. So if you move, you know, anything in there, it kind of breaks it.
Wow. Yeah. For me, I just got to say, like, although I don't think the Wonder Woman clip worked for me, because I think it was just not the greatest track, not the greatest, but they played one Dolby Atmos track, and it was just phenomenal. So you listen on this again, we're talking a high end Dolby Atmos system. They're playing this clip, and it's just, the positional is fantastic because you have speakers literally on top of the ceiling, and you put the headphones on, and it was, you know, some people will say it's indistinguishable. I actually found I preferred the headphones for the positioning over a true 5.1.2 Dolby Atmos system.
I mean, the
That's
only,
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, because I mean, you can, like we were thinking of practical applications, and it's like when I watch movies, I like to have it loud, and my wife likes to have it real soft. So it's like, well, we can load up our profiles, both be wearing headphones, and experience the movie the way we want to experience it. But I mean, the only thing you miss by doing that is that you do get the actual physical audio push from a true surround sound with a woofer. The waves it creates, you can feel it against your body. You're not going to get that in here, so you don't get that nice rumble, but at least you get the positional was spot on.
Right. And if it ever comes out, hopefully it does.
Oh,
it'll be $150. They're saying it's going to be bus powered, plug into a smartphone. It'll be in a PC. It's like magic stuff. Hopefully they didn't like pump the room full of some kind of gas to make us all like believe the thing, but it really was phenomenal.
No, I mean it's physics. It's not one of those stupid we're gonna take a stereo signal and try to virtualize surround. That's all junk. Anyone who's ever used that stuff knows that it's junk. This is saying, hey, you know what? We're gonna map out a physical space. We're gonna take that 2D. Or the stereo signal and map it out like you would on a 5.1 thing. So I mean, you still have to have a 5.1 mix. They played, what was it, Steely Dan?
Yeah.
Which was still just a stereo like recording, and they put it on a 5.1. So I mean, it was a nice surround, but to get those actual things, you still need a 5.1 signal to map to it.
Yeah. But that was really good too, because that Steely Dan clip, it felt like you were in the front row of the audience of a concert. It really did feel like it.
Well, and the applications can keep going. I'm sorry, Brad. Once you understand it, you can then say, okay, well, I want to listen to it on this kind of speakers. I want to listen to it on a 7.1. I want to listen, or even mapping out the rooms. I want to see what it would sound like in a huge hall, in a small cave. You know what I mean? Just like you can change up all those variables because you understand how it's going to affect you. So,
but Adam, I understand one thing I did hear from Creative. Ryan pulled me aside to say, hey, this is going to be awesome.
Secrets.
We're only going to sell it with the BFGD. So the only way Adam is going to be able to get it is buy BFGD, then he can get it.
Yeah, that's it.
The one thing I find interesting about that is the three of y'all who went and tried it out.
I was just kidding.
Adam,
it's not real.
Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every single one of y'all came out of there and said, that is the coolest thing I've seen at CES.
Yes,
and you guys have
down.
seen, liquid cooled machines, all the things we've been talking about on this show. And y'all came out of this audio, demo and said, that's the best thing I've experienced. And that says a lot to me.
Well, and I was looking for other people writing it up and chatter out there, and the chatter's not there like it should be. It's so easy to look at the BFGD, because it's like, oh, the idea of it, or a cool water cooled laptop, but it is audio is one of those things that you have to experience it. So that's a bummer. But they said they're gonna hopefully bring it by whenever the tech gets ready, and we'll try to figure out a way
to do it here on the show. We'll try. But it's true though, because somebody says, hey, what's the coolest thing you saw? I said, well, dude, I just checked this out. And people are immediately like, whatever, you're full of it. It's like, okay, I thought you can tell me something cool, right? People do not believe you about audio stuff. It is so personal. So
it's hard.
People have been sold, frankly, snake oil for years.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, whatever.
Push that Dolby button. Yeah.
You push that Dolby button in your 1978 Corolla. Didn't do anything.
Well, in my car, there actually are different settings that, and then they're called like Music Hall, and it does change the way the sound sounds, in my car.
But that's
all voodoo.
Yeah.
Well, but they're also not trying to map it to a positional space. They're just putting cool different levels of reverb on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool. This technology in a car, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But yeah. So can I do another pick real quick?
Sure.
Or does somebody else want to go next? So I don't keep blabbing.
Come on, make it quick.
Okay. The other cool thing was I liked it. I don't think everyone else was as impressed. Was the Razer's Project Linda?
Oh, okay. That's a controversial pick.
Yeah, I've we have not gotten
So what is it?
a
What is
Razer phone to get in for testing, but the idea is that it's a laptop that's missing the trackpad, and where that would go is that you put the Razer phone in and it plugs in USB, and then it shows up on your screen. So in the laptop itself is just a 120 hertz if it comes out screen that matches the resolution of the phone. I can't remember the exact specs off the top of my head, but it just has a huge battery in it that can power it up to 4 times.
A little bit of storage too, I think, right?
Yeah, 200 gigs of storage, USB-A port, USB-C port, and a headphone jack. So I mean, there's not much in the laptop itself, but it's still, I mean, at first glance, it looks like a Razer Blade Stealth, from their lineup. And then the actual phone turns into the trackpad of the laptop.
That I think is cool.
We've seen docks for phones that turn into laptops before, and they were all kind of janky. This one looks really good.
Yeah,
but
I mean, even
I don't know.
John,
I'm kind of on the
Samsung
fence
Dex.
because I kind of think that every Android laptop that I've tried has been garbage. So
yeah, that is the biggest drawback, that it's literally just essentially making your phone a large Android tablet laptop, so you're not getting a desktop experience. Like even like Samsung Dex, when you dock it, you still get like a Windows analogy of a desktop and movable windows. So this still is just Android, but at the same time, I mean, if I need to type up something more, or I want to do, I mean, they had Vainglory running, and you could pair a Bluetooth mouse with it, and I play Vainglory. So, I liked it. I mean, it depends on price. If it's $500, then it's like, oh, nope.
Right. Yeah.
But
so,
if it's a couple $100, then, I think it could be worth it.
Yeah. I mean, good Lord, if you can get that thing for $200, I'd be excited for it.
Yeah.
But it's Razer, right? The Razer Core is $500, and it's just a GPU cabinet. It's like the most beautiful built GPU cabinet you've ever seen in your life, but it's $500. Is this thing really going to be? I mean, are you going to stretch it out? Would you pay $400 for it, Adam? Or at that point, it's kind of like, no, I'll just get a real laptop.
I think that the top end they can probably sell it for realistically is $300.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of hardware for $300. Yeah. That's a lot of hardware.
But honestly, for Razer, the Razer phone in the phone space is actually a pretty good deal for the hardware that you're getting.
Yeah.
So, because I thought when we were going to go see the phone, it was going to be like, oh, well, it's going to be an overpriced Razer phone, but actually, it's pretty competitive as a phone. So maybe they continue with that and make this accessory, more competitive. But I don't know.
Right. It's just tough. I think price is going to be that big barrier. So, All right. Adam has already been.
I'm done yapping.
Monopolizing all of the cool CES stuff. Anybody still awake? We're all here. No,
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Melissa, you want to go?
Yes, actually, Adam can help me with this.
Uh-huh.
So Adam and I went to see Acer at CES
Twice.
Twice.
Why?
Because they had lots of stuff. But
Yep.
the first time we went there, we saw 2 new gaming PCs that they're coming out with. And I was having trouble choosing which one to talk about. And since Adam did 2 things, we'll kind of do 2 here too. One of them was the Predator Orion 9000 desktop. This is going to be their flagship gaming desktop.
With wheels.
You're a sport.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
So, okay, never mind.
I blew
Adam,
it.
go away. So this is their new flagship gaming desktop. They've been selling it in Europe. They're bringing it here. We actually saw it at IFA last year. They've changed a few things. They were going to have 4 graphics cards as a possibility in it, and they've nixed that for some reason. They wouldn't say why. But now their top thing is only 2 GTX 1080 Ti's and SLI. So, that's a pretty good consolation prize. But I just loved this desktop. I mean, gaming rigs are usually beautiful because people are putting money into it. They're putting their passion into it. But I was literally running my hands along the inside of the case looking for, just to feel it. And they'd shaved everything down. I wasn't cut anywhere, although I actually found a little thing they forgot to shave. I said, hey, you forgot. They're like, oh, we have to go fix that. But, they have 5 fans in it. And 2 of them are in the front and they glow, which is fun. But they have this little hood inside the desktop. So all that air that's coming in the front, part of it is routed in back of the motherboard to help cool the motherboard. The power supply is hooded and down at the bottom, and it has its own ventilation system, but it's kind of, it's got this cool Predator hood on it. It looks really great. They have 3 more fans, 2 on the top, so it's almost like you got a helicopter desktop thing going on. and it has handles on the top because we're pretty sure it weighs almost 50 pounds. And yes, Adam spoiled my favorite feature on it, which is that it has 2 wheels in the back, very discreet, in the back of the lower back corner of the desktop, so that you can lift it by one of the handles on the top and just roll it along. And I love that. I love that.
And that's
I really hope I see that in an airport someday. Somebody.
the handle pops
I
up.
think
and
you're supposed to just roll it down the driveway of your friend's house to the LAN party. Maybe roll it from your living room to your person cave.
Well, and Brad, you'd be surprised by the amount of people I see walking around Soma with iMacs. Like they're just carrying an iMac at like a bear hug, So
I've seen a picture of that once, and it's ludicrous.
it happens way more than you would realize.
yeah, so now they can just roll it around. They can just roll it by the back wheels.
But it was about attention to detail. So someone who's been reviewing desktops for as long as I have, and we used to actually go in and check on, everything about how they'd arranged it inside the case. And obviously this is a demo and they spiffed it up. But just, again, like the finish on it and the thoughtful things like the wheels and the handles and the positioning of the fans and making sure you routed some air behind the motherboard to help with the thermals. I mean, these are all things that meant a lot to me, made me feel like Acer had put some thought into it. And the reason I mention that is because last year at CES, they had the Predator 21X, which was this crazy $8,000 laptop with a mechanical keyboard. It had 2 1080 Ti's and SLI. It had a curved display. It was 21 inches wide.
2 power bricks. That was the
2 power bricks.
2 power bricks, incidentally, in case you're wondering. And they only made 300 of them. But Acer told us that they had sold, not only had they sold all 300, but some of them were sold through this guy who does custom paint jobs on laptops. So he bought it and then painted it for someone and then turned around and sold it for like $14,000.
Yep.
$14,000.
Yep.
So,
whoa.
Yeah. And so I understand.
I got to find some pictures of that.
Yeah. I mean, so I understand that there are, gaming PC companies that have been around a lot longer in this space than Acer has. Acer is fairly young to the gaming space. And you could have seen the Predator 21X as some kind of stunt. But then you see the Predator Orion 9000, you see that they're paying attention to it. And you can also see in the other PC they showed to us, the Nitro 5 gaming laptop. This is a casual gaming laptop. So it doesn't have 2 1080 Ti's and SLI, but it does have an RX 560 discrete graphics. It comes with a choice of Intel and Ryzen Mobile CPUs. It doesn't have a mechanical keyboard, but it has a really nice 15.6 inch display.
And
IPS.
it's under $1,000.
And and the starting price is $799. So you're probably, the price is going to go up a little bit from there. There's probably a model that costs around $1,000 or $1,100 or something. But I think the point is that you have a chance to do some decent gaming on a laptop for $800.
Oh, okay.
And
they're taking it seriously.
So they're taking it seriously, and you don't have to spend $8,000. So I admired that Acer seems to be taking the gaming thing seriously.
And instead of that red, they on the back of the Nitro, it had a nice, because I don't know, the Predator red is usually like a real bright red.
Yeah.
I feel like that strip on the back of the Nitro was a nice I don't know, like a more burgundy.
Yeah, they had the Nitro had this nice
refined
matte red hinge on it, but actually the Predator Orion 9000 had a teal and black color scheme, and they're kind of moving toward that because honestly, everyone does red and black. It's over. So
and the Orion 9000 we found during the video. You should watch the video on YouTube. We found a little thing that ejects in the front to hold your headphones.
Yeah,
which
it
is
has a
super
headphone
cool.
stand.
Okay.
Well, that's it's the little thing.
Well, and I was going to say that the comments on the YouTube video, people were a little upset that it didn't go over 9,000. It was right at 9. Sorry, it's a stupid meme, whatever, an internet joke.
Right. Right. Well, and that system starts at $2,000 and goes up to $3,000. They think.
So only a fraction of the cost of the Acer Predator 21X.
Only a fraction of the cost of the Predator 21X and weighs about the same.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Wow. I would go. Brad will be last because he's on the right. We're going left to right, it looks like.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I got 2 picks. Speaking of badass PCs, so I got two, and I have a tough time picking between them. First one, I really think Digital Storm's Project Spark, which is a liquid cooled 1080 class gaming rig that is the size. I heard people say shoebox. I think it's actually smaller than shoebox. I would say box of one of those
a box with an X.
Well, a Kleenex box, a fat Kleenex box.
Okay.
It was just super tiny. It was liquid cooled.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. I mean, it's just because it's a liquid cooled machine that is just like this big. It was just simply like, wow, this is awesome. Custom built, micro STX, 1080 and an MXM module, Coffee Lake version. It's like, wow, it's amazing to miniaturize that much. Of course, 1080, I think MSI actually introduce a 1080 version of their Trident, but this is water cooled, so it's going to be really quiet and it looks nice and custom. It's custom water cooled. It's not a CLC, so it's a custom water cooled, miniature PC. I gotta say, I love that. It's awesome. And then the really close second, maybe even better, is Maingear's F131.
I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah, the last day I was, everybody was hungover, but I was hungover, and it's just beautiful because what it was, it's again, everybody's doing custom PCs. It's a custom, I wouldn't say small form factor, but it's about this big and maybe like 6 inches, wide. And it was designed from the ground up to be custom liquid cooled. And the awesome thing they did is like they start with the base, steel chassis wrapped in aluminum. And then they have this big, huge, acrylic block that they've milled all of the reservoir and the flow meter and the temperature gauge. It's just simply this big, huge cool block that you feed all the liquid into, and then you do all your custom liquid cooling from that. It looks spectacular because then it's clear, so all the light shines through it. You can put different colored liquids in there. And then the machine itself, the big trend now is no longer to actually put cards in the slots. So you mount them vertically. It had two, custom liquid cooled 1080 Ti's mounted vertically. And of course, Maingear's, claim to fame is they really kind of pushed this exotic car look. They had like 6 different machines that were just stunning, right? You just like, these things are just beautiful. They look like, high end, $1 million exotic cars. Every one of them every single one different and unique, and all built on this new F131 chassis. It was just really stunning. I don't know if it's because I was hungover, but I gotta say, I wish I had the pictures to show right now, but it's just beautiful, because all the chrome hard tubing and everything's just lit perfectly. And we're talking, Coffee Lake or probably, whatever big socket if you wanted to. It's a micro ATX motherboard and then 2 full-size video cards, liquid cooled in a little tiny box. Not as small as Spark, but this is a lot more power because you're talking 1080 Ti's liquid cooled,
Well, and the liquid cooling was pink, correct?
They had every color.
Oh, they had every color. Okay.
Color. I mean, this is the company. They built a special Coca-Cola machines. They built these Coke mod machines. If you got to look it up. Look up Maingear Coke. Yeah. They were bad.
Maingear Coke.
Give you an idea of this. They were telling me that machine they built for Coca-Cola, the glass they actually use the same glass that Coca-Cola bottles are made out of. So they melted. I guess they got this glass,
cool.
and the glass for any glass that was using it was actually the Coca-Cola bottle. And then they got the color dye from Coca-Cola that they used to make Coca-Cola, and then that's what they made the liquid cooling out of.
Wow.
Yeah, that's attention to detail, right? That is attention to detail. And then it's funny because they said we had to actually put a warning. It's like, do not drink, not Coca-Cola.
That is pretty.
Which is like, are you really, who's going to drink the liquid out of their computer? But,
well, and
who's going to think it's actually Coca-Cola?
There's like a reservoir at the top that is shaped like a Coke bottle with like the Coke sticker on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yes. So, but I mean, this F131 is it looks exotic. The nice thing is it can actually be almost like they're thinking about selling it as a kit. Like if somebody wants to buy just the case and the cooler, Apex Cooling, they may do it at some point. Most of these vendors, they only want to sell it with the machine because clearly they like making money. So that's a plus. But I was really, this Project Spark, Digital Storm's Project Spark, just outstanding. Maingear F131, just really probably the nicest machine I think I saw at CES.
Nice.
So spectacular. Brad?
Well, my pick is going to seem awfully anticlimactic compared to y'all's crazy things. I didn't actually go to CES this year, unfortunately, but
We
I was
missed
able
you,
to live
Brad.
vicariously through y'all's spectacular PC World coverage. And the thing I always look forward to at CES is the ridiculous crap. Like a couple years ago, I was at CES, and MSI had an SLI bridge with a fan on it, and like linked up RGB, and it's just ridiculous and over the top. And it shouldn't exist, but I'm glad that it does. That's the kind of stuff that I love. And for me this year, that was Asus put out a bezel-free monitor kit. So it's basically you guys saw it. It's
Yeah, we did a video on it.
acrylic
Prisms,
like
prisms.
acrylic prisms that go along the edge of your monitor in multi-monitor setups. And they're set at a certain angle to create an optical illusion so that your monitor edges disappear, and it's more immersive that way.
Yeah.
So when you're looking left to right across your monitor setup, you don't see those ugly black, jarring seams down the middle. And it's not perfect. I mean, I was watching you guys' video of it. It's kind of blurry there, looks a little low res, but it seemed much more immersive to me, at least, watching the video.
Right.
And I'd never thought of that. But now that I see it, I actually really badly want to buy that for my own personal setup. Blows my mind. I love it. And it's simple. It's just acrylic strips connect by plastic tabs, and that's all it takes. And that makes me, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I got to say it was really, because I saw it in person and we took it off, and it was just like, it really is just like, yeah, is it perfect? No. Is it as good as a 49-inch panel? But no, it's not. But it's probably going to be $100.
It's an ingenious solution.
You got to appreciate. Yeah, it's like, that is so clever, because otherwise, if you have 3 panels with bezels, you're just going to be staring at bezels all day, and it really does help. So I got to give Asus props for it. That's really that was really super clever.
I love
It's
it.
the
They
little
said they're
things in
doing it
life.
to gauge interest. I hope, hey, Asus, I'm interested. Put that out. I'll buy one.
Yeah, they said like, the reaction is like, oh, we're going to do it, and they're also, so right now they're sort of sized for the 24.5 inch panels that they have, and they said like, we'll probably make other sizes for larger monitors. So ideally, it works best with their monitors, because if it's built for that size, but there's really nothing to stop you from doing it with another monitor. The angle is pretty extreme. It's about 130 degrees, so it does kind of wrap around you, but it's pretty clever. And I do want to say another little sort of clever, little tiny, it's the little things. I was at iBuyPower, and they showed me, it's like, oh yeah, we're doing these. And they're like, we were looking at the machine. They're like, what's the last thing we can RGB? And it's like, oh, we could do the combs for the power supply. So basically
What?
So if you have braided power supply cables,
Who would have those?
so people do. If you have the braided power supply cables, and you have the things that hold them in place and make them cool, so they're straight, no, they don't look like a mess. Those are called combs. So we're going to RGB those. So they actually took those, they RGB'd them, and the nice thing is, if you have white cables, the light kind of shines through it, and it almost looks like the power supply cable, even though it's not lit up, is kind of lit up. But it was ridiculous, because they were saying like, we're like, what else? What's left? The final frontier
The
in
feet,
RGB.
the rubber feet on
You
the
got
bottom
mouse
of the
case.
case.
yeah.
I'm sure that's just what's left.
I'm behind that idea as well. That's the stuff that I love at CES. And I'm going to actually probably spend some of my Christmas cash to get some custom cable mods.
Oh, really?
Do my
Nice.
system, Adam. So it is a big thing with enthusiasts who are doing fancy things.
What I personally liked, I appreciate it, was the trend. I saw probably 5 or 6 different vendors had power supply baffles. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Now, what that is like, from them, they're pushing it as like, this lets you baffle off your power supply, so the heat from the power supply doesn't affect the rest of your components. What it says for me is, your lazy ass didn't do cool wiring. You can just cover all that crap up with this cowl.
Well, I think that's what they had with the Predator Orion 9000. The power supply was covered so that it wouldn't mar the look of the inside of the system.
Right. And what it is like, if you ever look inside of some new cars, if you pop the hood on a car,
there's a huge cover.
And there's a huge cover, because you don't want to look at like 50 million wires around. So let's just cover it up. It's like when somebody comes over to your house and you just kind of like cover stuff up. It's the way to do it.
Well, they could RGB that.
Yeah, they RGB the cowl. That would be the thing.
Why not?
You know,
One day,
Gordon,
my grandma showed up at my house unexpected, and my wife yelled at me because I threw all the dirty dishes into the oven and closed it.
perfect.
Oh, that is clever. That's
Everyone
a good
does
tip.
that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Brad,
good,
that
it's
is
a good trick.
You really, that should go in a blog post or something. Like, here's what you do. Trying to get something else in this closet. Don't open that closet.
Brad, did you have any more picks from CES?
That was it for me. We've covered pretty much everything that I would have picked between the various segments. So, but for me, that Asus thing, that's the one thing coming out of CES that's not one of the major things that I really want to buy.
Yep.
You know, I'm surprised we missed a really big blind spot, which a lot of people in chat were saying was their favorite, was the HTC Vive Pro.
Oh,
which
interesting.
Gordon got to use.
I
wanna talk about that for a
considered
second?
it. I considered it. Yeah, it's basically an upgraded Vive. You know, high res PPI 618 versus 4ish.
Yeah.
New lenses. And actually, yeah, I do want to ask you because I gotta say I really do think the screen door effect, which is
Yeah.
everything looking heavily pixelized, greatly reduced. I think it looked
Yeah.
great. Adam, I think he's still.
I mean, it was there, but it was definitely reduced for sure. I mean,
Right.
that pixel density, I mean, that's important.
Yeah, because like on today's Vive, if you're looking at some menus, it can get a little hard. You can definitely when
Yeah.
things get small in the UI, it's not great.
Yeah.
And this really, it's cool. It's got headphones. There's a wireless option, which they're selling for both original Vive, new Vive.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was awesome. I mean, I think the deal breaker, really, the reason why I'm like not totally excited for it yet is no price. No price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't know how much that thing's going to cost.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're doing it because everybody's kind of been waiting for them to make a move. So
It really fixes, like, the Vive, I think, is still the strongest actual virtual reality experience because of its room scale, but it wasn't perfect. It had a few issues,
Yes.
like the cheap elastic strap, and it had no headphones, and it had the screen door effect, just like everyone did. And I think the Vive Pro fixes all of the glaring flaws that are left with the Vive, and it finally feels like a complete good headset.
yeah.
Is my impression of the thing, and I'm excited to see it. I'm not excited to see where they price it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. And the weight is definitely better. So it's more center weighted. It is lighter, and then also because it's it's not as heavy in the front. It feels a lot lighter on your head than the original Vive. So there's just a lot of pluses.
Talk about the small details. The way you tighten it down instead of doing the Velcro thing, it's just like a little twist in the back.
Right.
It that felt good and it felt stable when you put it on. I got to say, I was talking to Hayden about the announcement, and he was saying in the press materials, the color blue of the headset is just like super ugly and overdone in their marketing materials.
Yeah.
But in real life, it was a lot more subdued.
Yeah, a lot
it
more
was
subdued.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing that they had, which is interesting, we didn't really concentrate, is they have a new portal they're doing. So the Vive portal,
Vive Port.
and the big deal is
It's not new.
It was it, but the big deal is we're going to rent you games, sort of, right? So
Yeah.
5
A
games.
subscription.
five
Yeah, they've been
subscription
doing that,
service.
though.
Oh, is it? They've been doing it? Oh, well then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
New headset then.
New headset's cool, integrated audio, yeah, and I mean the biggest thing, it fit your glasses, it fit your normal glasses.
Yes, I've never been able to successfully fit these into the original Vive, so it does. So I definitely must be physically a little bit bigger to accommodate larger glasses. So that's a good thing too. But how much? The price. If the thing is $600. Oh, and just so people know, if you have the original Vive setup, it works with the original base stations. Up to 4, in fact, I believe.
Yep.
So they're going to sell you just the headset without the base stations because they figure most people just want
And
to
the
upgrade
wands,
the original
without the wands.
and without the wands, just because people they don't need all that. They just want the better headset. So that's how it's going to come to consumers first, and then sold as a package later this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being sold to Vive owners first, is the way they said it. So, yeah.
Huh.
Cool.
All right. Cool.
Well, that was a show.
That was a show. That was a lot of. That is a lot.
A lot of show
was a
for a
great
lot
show.
of CES week.
It was
Yeah.
a great show. Intel and AMD had big announcements. There was some really great hardware there.
Well, and we had a lot of people asking if we were going to cover the whole Spectre thing. So maybe in the next
Maybe
show
next
we can
week.
kind of cover that. But yeah, there's a lot of CES, to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
maybe
talk
we'll
about
do
that.
one next week.
Yeah, I think we should definitely. Plus, I have literally not been able to read anything on it that much. So.
I have not been able to get away from it for a minute of my life over the past week.
I will say everybody was talking about it, so
Yes.
I don't want to sidetrack us because that's another hour and a half discussion.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big deal. It ain't going away. So, we could talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Or a month
Perfect.
from now. It'll still be here in a month that we can talk about, I suspect. So, anyway, I'm going to take us out. If I have it in my notes, I
Do
will
it.
do.
Do it.
Yes, check back in 2 weeks for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes. Also, leave a review. Every time you do, someone successfully overclocks a Ryzen to 5 gigahertz. Not actually true, but do it anyway. Also, listeners on Google Play and Stitcher, send questions and comments to the Full Nerd at PC World. Once again, the Full Nerd at PCWorld.com. I will actually check it once in a while. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung. Wait, yeah, Brad is shaking his head. I will check it every week.
He won't.
We'll read
He
them
won't.
on the show. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis,
Bye.
Adios.
Melissa Rufrio, and Agent Patrick Marty will take us out.
One final spin.
Oh,
for the new year.
Jesus.
I love it.
Enough
All right.
of that.
Bye, guys.